So part two, I'll get into timeline manipulation in the US election and psychic predictions about why, a possible explanation for why Hillary Clinton did not become the US president. And I personally think it's high weirdness that caused it. I don't believe it was people were just fed up with Donald Trump. While, fed up with the, not Donald Trump. Sorry, that enough people wanted to vote for Donald Trump, but because they were fed up with the way things were going. I don't buy that for a minute. But anyway, and I'm not saying the election was rigged. It was not rigged, but I think there were esoteric reasons, believe it or not, behind why Donald Trump is in office. And I'm not the first psychic to say this, but I was getting that he may not go to a full 4-year term. So enjoy the child molesting rapist while you can. That was another thing. I got horrifically triggered by him, and I'm not going to apologize for that. The anxiety that I felt was enormous, but then it was empathically felt. I felt like oceans of tidal waves of anxiety of everyone else that was anxious. And this went on for days, and it was the worst. And then the supermoon happened, I think, after. And that impacted me physically and like physiologically in a way that I have never experienced in a long time. And so that was several days of high anxiety. And just as an aside for the person who's helped me a lot, don't be upset with me if I have a bad day. It's not your fault. You did a really good job, and you've helped me a lot. It's not your fault. Don't take it personally. You still help me so much, and you are so helpful and great and amazing. So I'm sorry I didn't make a video. It's been really hard, and there's a lot of weird stuff happening to me that I can't talk about, that you're probably aware of anyway, but I don't feel like I'm in the right timeline. I don't mind it, because it's getting me closer to someone I've wanted to get closer to for a long time, hopefully. It's a little more anxious of a timeline. It's a little weird, but I've had several things happen. And, you know, I've debated to talk about CERN, the collider in Switzerland, for a while as well, but I'm increasingly, and again, these are just feelings I'm getting, intuition. This is not, please do not take me as a substitute for scientific advice, medical advice, legal advice. This is for entertainment purposes only, but I do feel like that has something to do with it, but I also feel like there's some esoteric stuff happening with magicians doing stuff. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, maybe they put me in the safer timeline. I don't know. But before this switch happened, I have to be so careful with my words because, first of all, being taken seriously about this stuff that I'm talking about is surreal enough for me because I don't even know if this stuff is real or I'm being fed bunk, you know? But yes, I believe there's something called timeline wars. And people are engaging in them now. And the US election was part of it. I'm experiencing the Mandela Effect a lot. For those of you who don't know what it is, I mean, it's hugely popular right now. I'm going to include a link to a documentary below. This is one of the rings I made. I made a bunch of jewelry to calm myself down. Back, I'm a star. So, yeah, it's kawaii. I love it. So, yeah, sorry, you gotta do what you gotta do to calm yourself down, all right? So I made tons of cheap plastic jewelry to calm myself down. Yeah, so I couldn't make a video. I just couldn't face the dead eye of the camera. I don't care if it was delivering a message to someone in particular or many people. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I had so much anxiety, and there was so much anxiety, and I was trying to let go of that which was not mine. That's the whole point. I was trying to let go of that which is no longer serving you, and I couldn't do it. There were like so many things happening that were genuinely causing me anxiety. And I was given a huge amount of power that I don't feel was right. And I've since rescinded a certain volume of that, even though certain people still believe that I'm somebody to follow. I have a hard time believing that. I mean, I'm just such a bad cult leader, you guys. I'm going to be warning you against the Kool-Aid. But anyway, so I had all this anxiety. And I'm doing these DNA activations. I'm getting really depressed. In the election, I felt all the anxiety of everyone else. I kind of had, I guess, a few weeks there where I thought I was losing it. And prior to the election, I think this was before the election. I can't remember exactly when this was, but I felt this for months. And I don't want to cause widespread panic. So I don't know how much of this I should say. But I was getting that there was, by 2020, there was going to be some kind of alien invasion. But it's not going to be like what you think it is. It's going to be like stealth. Like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This is what I was getting. I'm not really getting that so much anymore. That these creatures exist, maybe. But that they're like shadow creatures. And I don't know where they come from. I don't know if I should say anything else. Like, because I'm not getting that it's happening now. That's what I mean by the timeline shifts. And that's also why it made me insecure about my psychic abilities. And then I saw this Mandela Effect documentary. And I don't take everything in it to heart. I think when they talk about, you know, brands changing and how names of brands like Fruit Loops, the cereal, changed the spelling, I don't get too bent out of shape about that. Companies change their brand names constantly. They change the way their brands look. They're not trying to psych you out. But one of the things that I also thought about having to do with the Mandela Effect was that rather than being a Mandela Effect, that it might have been a CIA psychological operation. I don't think that's likely. I think brands change their look all the time. They change the way things are spelled. But a couple of things were freaking me out in my own personal reality that were really disturbing. That didn't seem to me to be like a branding thing or a logo thing, you know, or an advertising thing. But you never know. It could be a psychological manipulation. I don't know. But I have experienced a lot of Mandela effects since these things started happening. These, what I call timeline shifts or changes or plopping me into an alternate reality. Because I feel like I'm speaking to you from an alternate reality right now. I feel like I am not in the America that I live. And this is not because the surrealness of having a reality TV star for a president. It's not that. I've been feeling the surrealness of this reality since I felt this shift in what I believe was a timeline change. And the documentary with the link below talks a lot about quantum mechanics and theoretical physics and what's happening at CERN. And the thing that powers a couple of those things is a chip that's the size of a fingernail. And it looks like it's like a little chip, but it looks like a motherboard on a computer. And there's something applied to the back of my tooth that looks just like that. And I've shown the dental x-rays to this thing, and I've had weird things happen to me. And I've shown the thing on the back of my tooth to so many dentists, a surgeon, a radiologist. None of them have ever seen it. I mean, I've shown this to like 10 medical professionals who would be qualified to look at this thing and be able to tell me, in theory, what it was. They have no idea what it is. They have no idea what it is. And I've had signed affidavits for it. And it's scary. It's really scary because I have no memory of having it applied to the back of my tooth. I've had 2 dentists tell me definitively that the only way that it could be applied is at the onset of my adult teeth coming in, which is about the age of 4, 5, or 6. And I have talked about having recovered memories of that time, of being in like a dentist chair and having things done to me. But it was to the top of my head. It wasn't to my mouth. So I don't know. But it's really scary. My mother doesn't, she's dead. She didn't have any memory of that happening before, but it could have happened when I was visiting my dad. And I've talked about places in Canada where it could have conceivably happened, and I'm wondering if that even was the case, but that's also weird because I've never been to this town called Nelson, British Columbia. And yet I looked at a video online of it once and I had this really strong reaction and all these recovered memories. Again, that could be a manipulation, I don't know, but I have really weird, unexplained things happen to me. And when I saw this documentary about the chip that basically runs all of these things, and it looked uncannily like the x-ray, when you do a close-up of it, it's like a motherboard on the back of my tooth. And I have become aware over time, it seems like things are sort of coming together, and it seems to have something to do with timelines. I'll do a part 3.